Dit is Marc Jacobs op Mi Amigo Internationaal.
Ik weiß nicht, ob mein Mikrofon marschiert. Ja, jetzt ist er da. Marc, herzlich willkommen.
Ja, danke.
Hier in Erkrath. Wir sind sehr froh, dass du heute unser Guest of Honor bist. Ich weiß noch nicht, ob wir die ganze Zeit Deutsch reden sollen oder in Englisch. Englisch ist besser vielleicht.
Ja, ich habe einen Vorschlag. Es ist wahrscheinlich nicht so höflich, aber alle Erinnerungen sind hier gespeichert und bei dir in
auch.
Englisch und in Holländisch.
Holländisch.
Also wenn wir das auf Deutsch machen müssen, dann müssen wir
die ganze Zeit übersetzen.
Hier drin übersetzen und ich denke, das wird schwierig.
Ja, ja. Und ihr versteht alle Englisch. Graham, du verstehst Englisch? Ja, doch. Okay, dann schaffen wir das.
Ist einer hier, der kein Englisch versteht?
Ist einer, der kein Englisch versteht?
Jedermann versteht Englisch?
Ja, okay.
Holländisch? Ja.
We do it in English, Mark.
We do it in English,
Okay.
all right.
And
All right, you old bucker.
I would suggest to go back to your youth in Holland. With your family, was radio on all the time? And when was the first time you ever thought, I want to be a disc jockey?
Oh dear.
Go back in the past. In the 60s, did you listen to the radio as a child?
Oh yes, absolutely. My dad was absolutely radio mad. Mm-hmm. We had a huge, I told you before, we had a huge antenna on the roof with the rotator in it. And my dad's hobby was to listen to all sorts of foreign stations on VHF. And of course we were north of Holland. Got a lot of German stations, but once in a while we had the BBC, stations from Scandinavia and stuff like that. And apart from that, the radio was on, an old radio with valves, a Philips one, on Veronica.
You listened to Veronica?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I remember getting my first radio because I was nagging all the time. You know, we only had one radio in the living room. There was a transistor one in the kitchen that was stolen. So I want my own radio. And I was 8 years old, and no one from 8 years old had a radio in those days. So I think it was my 9th birthday, and my grandmother came, and she always had these big presents. She came with a huge box. I opened it. In was a Philips radio, a red one, a small one with valves. We plugged it into the 220. No sound. And we twisted all the knobs. We couldn't get it to play. Now, we went back with the radio to the store where she bought it. And the guy in the store, I remember it so well. He started laughing. He said, yes, normally you turn knobs, but in order to switch this one on, you have to pull the knob. And that was it. I still have the radio. It still plays.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
And did you listen to Veronica first and later to Radio North Sea?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
yeah.
we have something to listen to.
Okay.
Dit is Radio Noordzee International.
Fifth Dimension, Let the Sun Shine In, preceded by Aquarius. It's 11:15 now, and in the last few months, particularly while we've been off the coast of Holland, we've turned our attentions very much to our Dutch listeners, and a lot of them have written to us, and it's very nice to hear from them. So, goedenavond now to Rob van Dam of Rolstraatlaan 69, Groningen in Holland. Dank u wel for the letter, and a record for you now from Crosby, Stills and Nash.
That's amazing.
Yes, it's on
That's amazing.
September 23rd, 1970. And you obviously wrote a letter to Alan West, and he mentioned you on the radio.
I was a
Thank to
huge fan.
Vincent Sriel and Martin and Hans. We've got it. Okay. It's amazing, isn't it?
It is.
It's something from the past. Was that a time that you already thought, well, I want to be a disc jockey? Or not yet? When was that?
Obviously, you know, due actually to my father and my grandfather, they all had the same hobby: filming and listening to radio, fiddling around with gramophones and record, what do you call them, tape recorders. I was 14 years old, and we frequented a sort of a discotheque in the cellar of our church on Saturday evening. Of course, we had to close down the whole thing at 12 sharp, because then it was Sunday, and you were not allowed to make all music and joyful things in the cellar of a church. And they had this disco equipment, and there was one guy playing records, and he was awful, no hits whatsoever. And I recorded all these things, and I had quite a few records. I earned money, washing cars for neighbors, mowing their lawns, and whatever. So I said to the manager, would I be allowed to do this for an hour? And people liked it. I talked between the records. I said, he's just like Eddie Becker from Radio Veronica.
So,
and then again, I never thought about being a DJ or working for radio, because actually, when I left the middle school, what's that? Well, never mind.
middle school,
High school.
About 70, 80 years old.
I was supposed to study to be a minister.
Really?
To be a preacher.
What went wrong?
I don't know. You tell me. Oh, you naughty boy. No, I went to the States for a year, some sort of student exchange program.
Mm-hmm.
And you had to choose a study. So I chose to major in mass communication, which happened to be radio, television, everything that has to do with the technique, interview technique as well, present the news, host music programs and stuff like that. When I came back in Holland, I thought, this is nice, isn't it?
Yes.
And I had to cover half a year before I went to university to do my theology studies. And I started being a disc jockey in quite a big discotheque.
In Groningen.
In Groningen, up north. And that was so nice that June came, and I thought, I don't want to go. I don't want to go to university.
No.
I don't want to study. And I lived on my own by that time. I had an income. And
Yeah. What time are we talking about? 1975
this
or
is
something? Or earlier?
No, I came back from the States in 73. That
73.
was.
So
Yeah.
Radio North and Veronica was still
Oh,
on?
yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
right.
And I worked as a DJ in clubs
discotheque.
for about 3 years.
Oh, yeah. And do you remember Radio North and Veronica closing down? Yes.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I was in tears.
Yes. Like
Absolutely.
many of us.
Oh, yeah. I
Yes.
was absolutely in tears.
And afterwards, it was only Radio Caroline and Mi Amigo left. Did you listen to Mi Amigo or Caroline?
Yeah, both.
did?
Yes. I was a
Okay.
huge fan. Don't know why, but I still don't like Hilversum 3 or
No,
Radio 3 FM nowadays. I think it's an awful station. It
Yes.
still is. I mean, it has... there's no character.
Yes.
It has nothing. And Caroline, I mean, had history. Mi Amigo worked partly with old Veronica DJs like
Yes.
Bert van Leeuwen.
Yeah.
He called himself Tim
Tim Ridder. Tim
Yeah,
Ridder.
right.
Yes, indeed.
And Stan Haag,
Stan Haag.
who came back on the air with his
Yes.
famous jukebox. So,
Yeah.
yeah. The reception up north was quite good.
And when did you decide to become a disc jockey on Radio Mi Amigo yourself? And how did you get in contact?
There was one afternoon, I sat down with some friends and I had a little studio at home. And one of them said, why are you not in radio? So, well, why should I? I mean, I work in discotheques and it's lovely, and what the future brings, I don't know, but I'm fine, so leave it. No, you should be in radio. Be in radio. Why don't you send a tape, a cassette, to one of the stations? But I listened to Mi Amigo quite a while. I said, why not? So I made a program,
Tape.
and on cassette, yes.
Yes.
I sent it to Playa Diaro, and within a week I had
a reply.
an answer from Joop Verhoef.
Okay.
I still have that letter. It's
Okay.
like a dad writing to his son, saying, we listened to your tape, we played it again, and we're quite enthusiastic, and we'd like to invite you as part of our team, but be aware that you'll be working on the ship and in Spain, that you have to say goodbye to all your friends, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, whatever, and that will be very hard. So think twice before you decide. That was so fucking nice of the guy. And he was a nice guy.
Like a father.
And this letter was like, yes, a
Yes.
father-son letter, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then it was Marc Jacobs on Radio Mi Amigo. We have something to listen to.
Marc Jacobs op Radio Mi Amigo Internationaal.
1, 2, 3. Marc Jacobs, Marc Jacobs, Marc Jacobs, Marc Jacobs, Mi Amigo, Marc Jacobs, Marc Jacobs.
This is Marc Jacobs.
Mi Amigo stuurboord.
Dit is Stuurboord, live vanaf de Noordzee. Het eerste uur met Marc Jacobs.
Baken 16, Baken 16. Mi Amigo Radio. Baken 16, Baken 16. Mi Amigo Radio. Baken 16, Baken 16. Elke dag van 12 tot 2. Baken 16, Baken 16. Alder.
You still can do that. Can you remember the first part?
Dit is Radio Mi Amigo Internationaal. Hier is Marc Jacobs.
Nou, daar ga je Jacobs voor de haaien. Het is 6 minuten over 12 geworden. Luisteraars, een hele goede middag. Dit is Baken 16 met een nieuwe presentator. Wat? Ja, lekker een puinhoopje. Het is bloedheet in die studio trouwens. Wat hebben we een wijntje?
Ja, kijk eens. Chateau Ventouse, Bordeaux, uit 1962.
Een 4 jaar oude dus. Baken 16, aflevering 24, de dato 25 augustus 1976. En wat hebben wij voor u vandaag? Hallo. Dat is ten eerste zometeen om 12:15 als het goed mee zit. Het weerbericht voor morgen. Dan om 12:30 Kustorama. Dat is het overzicht van het kustgebeuren in België voor de komende week. Zoiets over de taptoe in Breda. Dat is net zoiets als in Delft. Dat hebben ze een beetje verhuisd. 1 kilometer of 100 naar het zuiden. Nou, we zien het wel. Baken 16, u weet het, met een nieuw gezicht deze keer. Bart zit weer in Spanje, in de zon. En ik moet heel eerlijk bekennen, ik ben zo zenuwachtig als een jong hondje. Allemaal een glaasje wijn, ja lekker. Ze zullen even proosten, de goede afloop. Proosten.
Tweede jaar nog,
Ja, proost. Ah, lekker. Nee, het is voor mij de eerste keer Baken 16, dus als het vandaag wat fout gaat, ik zou zeggen, bel niet direct de directie op. Ik moet het ook nog een beetje leren, maar het zal wel een beetje loslopen, hoop ik dan. Even een schietgebedje. 2, 3, 4, nee, ik had het dan net over wijn, maar ik heb ook nog iets anders voor u.
That was number 24 of Baken 16, your first edition in 1960.
Did you understand any of that?
Well, just the sound was good, wasn't it? It was his first edition of Baken 16, the afternoon, the midday program.
Right, yeah, my first one.
Yeah, your first one.
The recording was it played back a bit fast.
A bit fast.
I mean, you sounded very young then. I mean,
Yes, indeed. But Bart van Leeuwen started Baken 16 off when he was a live disc jockey somewhere in the summer of 76.
I remember quite well. I was doing the Ook Goeiemorgen show on Mi Amigo, and we got a letter from, I think that Peter van Dam was the program director at that moment.
Yeah.
That the live programs were quite popular. For commercial reasons, they would like to have more live programs. And starting, I think, the 1st of August that year, whatever, 12 till 2 was vacant to be filled by the disc jockeys on board. So Bart and I sat together. The only thing is, you do whatever you want with it. Trek uw plan, as Peter wrote it. No directions of what to do. So we together sort of developed the format. And then we had to find a name. And I came up with, what's the nearest beacon to the Mi Amigo? So we looked at the map, and that was beacon 18, Baken 18. But Baken 18 doesn't sound as nice as Baken 16.
Yes.
That sounds friendlier. So we lied about 2 beacons, which was miles and miles away, and that's how we came by the name of Baken 16.
Yeah.
And from the start it was, first of all, music.
Yes.
That's our business. But to give people a tour around the ship, tell them what happened, who was there, what we were doing, because we were sort of a family.
Yes.
I thought, you know, you, our listeners, are our family too, so we'd like to tell you about what we're doing
What's
here.
going on sea. And sometimes it was rough seas, like here. What do you remember of that time, 1976, being on board the Mi Amigo? What was life all about? Was it food enough, the fuel, the diesel? What was life
Actually quite good. First time I came on board, we had a captain. He was from Yugoslavia. Miro was his name. Don't know his last name. Something. We had the sailor, Leo Boyce. We had a cook. He was from Israel, Trevi. He would enter the studio every morning, whether the red light was on or not, and shouting, you know, what kind of fucking eggs you want this morning? You want them boiled, you want them fried, or you want them scrambled? So with that sense, he went on the air quite a few times because I was, you know, doing an announcement. And there was an engineer. There was a transmitter engineer, mostly Peter Chicago, and a staff of, I think, 5 or 6 English DJs and 2 Dutch DJs, and sometimes 3. There were quite a few people on the ship, and the supplies were all there. We had, you know, food, drinks, and no problem. Fantastic.
And things changed during the years. 1977, things were getting worse. How come? Okay.
We had a guy from Ostend who tendered us. He had quite a few fishing trawlers, and one of them he rebuilt to be a tender. You know, with enormous tanks for diesel, for fuel, and water, and he got caught. So he had to stop. So we lost Mr. Van Leul, and after that it was a hassle to find tenders, to find people who were willing to risk their boat, and a huge fine to supply us. And I think starting 77, the middle of 77, things got worse on board. Yeah.
Have you ever been on board when things went wrong? I heard something about being on sandbank with the Mi Amigo.
Oh yeah. We had anchors change, and anchor chains are supposed to hold the ship in its position.
Yes.
Apart from the anchor change from the MV Mi Amigo, because they did break.
Yes.
First time was, I think, in September 76. We were on the sandbank. We were pulled back by one of our tenders. I was very proud to be on the steering wheel of the Mi Amigo, because when we were pulled loose of the sandbank, we started the main engine of the Mi Amigo, and it ran.
Still?
Yes, it ran. So we were in the, what do you call it, a stuurhut?
The bridge.
The bridge, right. Herzlichen Dank. Is Sprachen durcheinander hier, ne? We were on the bridge, and the captain said, you know, hold the wheel. So I steered the Mi Amigo for about half an hour.
Yes.
And while I did that, you know, there was a huge bang coming from the engine room, and the main engine sort of exploded. That was the last time she ran.
Right.
So we were hooked up again by one of our tenders and pulled back to the original place in the Knock Deep. And then they fitted us with an anchor chain, which was way too short.
Oh dear.
We had one which was 250 meters long.
Okay.
You sort of do not pull. If you've got the surface of the sea here, you've got an anchor chain that, you know, slowly goes down. It lays on the bottom of the sea, and somewhere there you've got the anchor. So in rough,
long enough.
Right. So in rough weather, you would pull the anchor chain, but you would never pull the anchor. Yes. That would be dangerous. Now they gave us a new chain, which was way too short.
Okay.
And there was a winch in. Do you call the winch one of the things that can turn in? Eine Winde? No, yeah. You turn around 6 times a day, you know, yes, with high and low tide. And in the anchor chain, you have one of a part, you know, that can roll or whatever. But in this new anchor chain, I think about 4 weeks after, that got stuck. I've got some photos of the measure, what was his name? No, I can't remember. One of the guys, one of the crew, who went down in a diving suit to see what was wrong, because the anchor chain started to twist.
Right.
And a few weeks later, it just snapped in really calm weather. It just snapped.
Right.
Frightful. And we were drifting away.
Yes. Memories to Stuart Russell and other colleagues.
Yeah, Stuart.
He was the one who was always in Dutch on the show.
He was a great guy, and he had a talent for languages.
Yes.
He picked up Dutch really, really fast. And I remember him being in my show every day with the sentence of the day. Okay. And we taught him, or one of the guys or one of the crew would teach him a Dutch sentence, and he would come into the studio, and I would announce him, and hello listeners from Radio Mi Amigo, I'm Stuart Russell from Radio Caroline, and this is my sentence of the day. Daar zijn veel lucifers in dit doosje. And the next day he came, and hello, I'm Stuart Russell from Radio Caroline, and this is the sentence of the day. Ik heb een knoopje in mijn lul.
Yeah. I've got a knot in my dick.
Ja, es was nicht ganz richtig mit seinem Schwanz. Aber der wusste nicht, dass die
Übersetzung hat er nicht gewusst.
Nee, die haben ihm vorgelogen. Ne? Ach, großartig.
Yeah, Stuart Russell Sprout.
Russell Sprout, yeah. Who gave him that name? I can't remember.
I can't remember either. It was just his name.
Yeah, but it actually that sort of symbolized the atmosphere we had on the ship. It was great.
It was great.
Yeah.
We have something to listen to, I think, from 1977.
De stroom hier aan boord gaat af. Vanaf het moment dat de jukebox in feite ophoudt, hebben we nog een paar minuten. En even de sigaret weer aansteken hoor. En dan is het afgelopen. En dat allemaal om brandstof te sparen, omdat de levering daarvan verschrikkelijk slecht is. Het is allemaal net op het kantje. Tegen de tijd dat er een tender komt, zitten we net de laatste emmertjes in feite uit de tanks te halen om toch nog een dag langer in de lucht te kunnen blijven. We gaan ook al een uur later in de lucht 's ochtends, niet om 6 uur nu, maar om 7 uur. Vreselijk jammer voor Frank, die erg leuke programma's heeft gemaakt voor tussen 6 en 7. Maar het kan niet anders, we moeten nu eenmaal zuinig met die brandstof zijn, anders kunnen we helemaal niet meer in de lucht. Caroline is sowieso al 's nachts uit de lucht, die gaat gelijk met ons. Of een uur later, ik weet het niet eens. Maar in ieder geval, wij hebben helemaal geen power meer in de studio na het uur van Standhaag.
Well, this was a spoken letter from you on board to the organization in Spain about the bad situation with the fuel and saving fuel. Caroline being on another frequency
in daytime,
and Mi Amigo, and Caroline out off the air during the night, which was unfortunate, and Mi Amigo starting at 7.
We started instead of 6. We started at 7. This was part of a spoken letter, as you said. And I just learned it was from the 9th of May 1977, I think, sort of. And it explained to the people in Spain that we were short of fuel, short of about anything.
Food was,
and we had to start the station later than 6, and go off at 7, and the power in the studio went off at 7, and 7 was the time, we would have a dinner, and then round about 8 or 9 in the evening, we would start to do our production work, making commercials, promotion things or whatever, and we couldn't do that. So some of the commercial contracts where we had to make the commercials ourselves on the ship, we couldn't fulfill, and that was really bad.
Yeah. Do you think that Sylvain Tuck, being in Spain, lost his influence, and that Patrick van Laan, who was in Belgium, getting more and more influence because he actually had to arrange the things, that's the main reason that things started to change for the worse?
Actually, you touch a soft spot there.
Yes, I know. That's why I talk about it.
You naughty boy.
Yeah.
I never saw Sylvain cry.
No.
He was, he was a tough guy. For us, he was a very nice guy. A good guy to have as a boss, a good friend. We would always go out, eat and drink and have fun and, whatever. But, things on board the ship started to be sometimes really bad, no fuel, no water,
food.
No food, for several weeks. Well,
Yes.
we only had rice that we cooked in seawater.
Yes.
There was nothing on it,
No.
some ketchup, and that was it.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Carrots in tin.
Yeah.
I remember.
I remember
Carrots in tin.
the white beans in tomato sauce
Yes.
for breakfast, for lunch, and for dinner. I still don't like them. So I talked to Sylvain. I said, this it's impossible. I mean, one of these days, the guys will leave the ship as it is, and that's it. This is irresponsible. We can't. We can't broadcast when there's no supplies. And Sylvain just sat there and started crying. He said, I know what's going on, but from Spain, there's so little I can do. I have to rely on the people in Belgium that run the station, that collect the money from the advertisers, and I know some of them ripped me off.
Yes.
And that was true.
And during autumn 1977, Frank van der Mas was the first one to basically quit and go away. And I remember you decided to leave as well.
Yep.
And Hugo Meulenhoff left afterwards as well.
Yeah.
I remember very well because I was on board at that time. He said to me, I'm going to quit as well. And Stanhage Michele also said, well, we have our own problems in Playa de Aro, but with this bad situation on board, we don't want to work for Mi Amigo anymore. Did you had the option to go and work in Playa de Aro, or was this impossible?
Oh, if you don't like to work on the ship, you can work here. But we prefer to have you
On
with
the
live
ship,
programs because we
yes.
think you are better in
Yeah.
live programs than, taping them 2 weeks before they were being broadcasted.
Yeah.
And that was absolutely true. Still, till today, if they ask me to do a radio program and it's not live, I say no. I can't. I know
It's
I'm
different, yes.
I never claimed to be a disc jockey. I know fuck all about records. I know fuck all about artists.
Well, you're
I
a man
host-
of live atmosphere.
Yeah, I
Yes,
host
that's
programs and I hope to bring some joy and happiness. And
Yes.
But to go back to your question, when we left the station in 77, the atmosphere in Spain was quite tense.
Yes.
Stan and Michele being Dutch, the rest of the crew there being Belgian. They all missed their homes. They all missed their family. And, they had to be in that studio together. So we had... Is there someone on the phone?
It's Michele.
Oh, it's Michele. So the atmosphere wasn't too good.
No,
And when we, as the guys from the ship, came down to Spain, the Belgian crew would, be very nice to us. And you could stay at our home. As well as the Dutch guys, like Stan and Michele. No, you want to stay with us and we'll be better and don't talk to the Belgians. No, fuck it, it's just one station. We can't do that. Apart from that, the situation on board the ship was really bad.
Yes.
I think it was in August or in September 77 where we thought we were sinking. We were sinking, but we were not on the sandbank. There was one of the valves, for the cooling water of the generators that broke and actually pumped water into the ship.
Yeah.
But the situation was so bad, we were going down so fast, the pumps couldn't manage it. So what we did, all the lifeboats we had, we threw overboard, with the idea it will take 2 or 3 hours, and then the Mi Amigo will go down.
Yes.
So we threw the lifeboats overboard. The 6 we had, only 1 inflated.
Really?
Big enough to carry the crew. And I thought to be smart, we had 2 or 3 bottles of whiskey left, to throw them into the lifeboat, knowing that when the Mi Amigo was going down, we could all say goodbye and thank you and have a good drink. Now, what happened? We found where the water came in. That was fixed. The pumps, pulled the ship dry. And that evening, we looked over the side, and even the last lifeboat was gone.
Right.
So with that story, I went to Spain, went to Sylvain, and said, this is absolutely irresponsible.
Yes.
We can't do that. You have to do something about it. Lifeboats, at least good lifeboats, and not third or second or fifth-hand ones.
Yes.
And there was a meeting in Paris with Ronan, with Sylvain, with Patrick Vallin,
yes,
myself, etc., etc. It didn't solve anything. And then I was in Spain again and said, there's nothing being done about the ship. There are no supplies, there are no lifeboats. And you know what you want to do with your radio station?
Close it down.
Yes, well, shove it up. Yeah. And yes, right. So Frank and I decided not to go back to the ship.
Yeah. We are going to listen to one last part from that period, I think.
Hello there.
Hello there.
Well, right in the middle of the record, we had it for, I say, half a minute. Absolutely perfect, it sounded like with a little echo. But your turntable was going faster than mine, so I had to wind it up once in a while.
I slowed mine down a couple of times, so apologies to the Caroline listeners for the beginning. But I was trying to adjust the speed, you see, to match them up, you see.
Yeah, so was I.
Yeah, it must have sounded lovely with 2 radios.
I don't know if you tried it, with 2 radios. We'll try it again. Maybe next week, maybe tomorrow. We'll see about that.
Yeah, we'll try and sort something out, I think.
Hey, man, you like a nice commercial, Ch?
Yes, I love a nice commercial, Ch. And then I'll give you one of mine.
What? You want to go first?
You go first because I'm not ready yet.
All right, there we go.
Steamer on gum, steamer on gum, steamer on chewing gum, steamer on chewing gum, steamer on.
Lekker, smaakt het langst.
How about you now, man?
Okay then, off we go.
Try a taste of martini. The most beautiful drink in the world is the bright one. The right one, it's martini. Anytime, any place, anywhere. There's a wonderful world you can share in the bright taste of the right one. That's martini.
That's my commercial.
Thank you very much. Hey, would you mind talking for a second? I haven't got a record queued up.
Haven't you?
No.
Oh, aren't you wicked?
Okay.
Well, I've got Roger Matthews in the studio with me. Come round here, Rog, and talk. Say something to the 10 million people who are listening to the 2 radio stations. Let's play like what? Like that for a start. Yeah?
All right, then.
Are we ready upstairs yet?
He's just queuing now. I can hear him through the window.
Yeah, he's not ready. He's not even listening.
I am.
You ready?
Yes.
I was just about to play the Caroline Mi Amigo song.
Oh, you was?
Yes, I was.
Hold on. This is going to be very nice. You got it in your thing, Chair?
Yes, it's in my Spotmaster, Chair.
All right. 1, 2, 3.
Funny thing to add, actually, the commercial of Steamer Ale Gum and Martini, they were never paid for. They were fake.
Yes.
Well, they were real commercials, but, they sounded nice, and that's why we broadcasted them.
Yes, indeed. I see the new studio there, and that brings us to 1978. What made you decide to come back to Mi Amigo?
There was a fault of Mr. Ronan O'Reilly.
Yes.
From early 78, I mean, I was in regular contact with Ronan. He would phone me, or I'd phone him, and how the situation was on the ship, because he wanted to be informed. And starting 78, early 78, he would phone, "Hi, Mark, baby. How are things?" "All right, Ronan." "Mark, baby, I'm not going to make this a long conversation, but the lady misses you." And the old lady, was the name of the ship. So, sorry, but, I'm not going back there. I mean, I'm not tired of being alive, and it's all right. "Mark, baby, things will improve. Roland, if things have improved, please call back. You know, we chit-chat about, well, whatever, hobbies and Una and things he did. And he was quite all right. A strange man, but something about him, you know, made him adorable.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, he was strange. But there was something about the guy, you know, which was all right. But he kept on phoning every so often. And he kept on saying, you know, Mark, baby, the lady misses you. And then I think it was Sylvain or Patrick, I can't remember, said, you know, we did some major improvements on the ship. There are a few plates welded on the bottom. Beneath the generators.
Water is not pouring in anymore.
Right. Where the skin of the ship, it was measured when I was on board in 77. And at places, the skin of the ship was 0.2 millimeters, which is virtually nothing. And that's what the water came in, you know, in storms. But they welded on new plates. There were new life rafts. They said the tendering was all right and stuff like that. And I must say, I did miss the old lady too, and my friends on it.
So you were right in time to do your 500 Barken system with the new cook, which was one of the improvements too. We actually had someone to cook our meals, Kees Borrell.
Yeah, great guy.
Yes,
I'm still in contact with him.
Yes,
he supplies me with the satellite things I need to sort of decode all the decoded channels. Ja, Sky Deutschland hat ja doch sehr gute Filmkanäle, ne? Und der macht das alles, das geht großartig. Ja. Der wohnt in Thailand. Vorige Woche, da hatte ich ein Problem mit meinem Rechner. Ich habe ihn angerufen, kannst du mir da helfen? Denn der Rechner kommuniziert nicht mit meinem Satellitenempfänger. Also ja, mit TeamViewer, ich wüsste überhaupt nicht, was das war, ne? Da kann ich das von hier aus regeln.
Ja.
Und auf einmal sei hier in Holland, da wurde schwarz. Hallo, Kees hier. Und ich glaube, innerhalb von 5 Minuten, da war alles funktionierte großartig.
Das Modern Technique, das haben wir damals nicht gehabt.
Nee. But he still keeps on saying, you know, what the fuck are you doing in Holland? Do come to Thailand, where he lives with his lovely young wife.
Yes. So, when you came back, did things have improved?
Oh yeah.
What about the atmosphere? Was it right?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you were there.
Thank you. Yeah. We enjoyed a nice summer.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
No, it didn't really matter who was on the ship. The atmosphere was always fantastic.
Good. Yeah.
I was told by quite a few guys that worked on Naughty as well, or Veronica. They said, you know, great times, but the atmosphere on the Mi Amigo is special.
Yes.
There's something about it. I don't know whether you wrote it or someone else that they called the old lady actually the mother of all the radio ships.
And which is true. It was one of the first ones in 1958.
Radio Noord,
Radio, yes. Do you remember the situation with Sherman Axe and the Hosanna and the man being drunk and not being paid properly and starting to threaten us? That's what he said. But he came as a tender to the Mi Amigo, and then things were about to go very wrong. Do you recall that?
Yeah, still gives me the creeps to think about it. It was on a night where he was supposed to come out with his boat. He was a strange guy, but anyway, he tendered us, and he did a very good job. He came alongside, weather was quite calm, and he shouted, "I want 20,000 guilders! Otherwise you will not get your fuel and your water, your supplies." So I shouted back, well, I'm on the middle of the North Sea. There's no bank around, and there's certainly no one here who can, you know, supply you with 20,000 guilders. He said, "No, otherwise I'll sink your ship."
Yes.
Obviously, drunk as drunk can be. So we joked something. We thought it was a joke. And he said, "It's no joke. I want 20,000 guilders right now, or your ship will be on the bottom within half an hour." And then he pulled back.
Yes.
a few hundred meters, and full speed went
Sounded like coming
right.
to us.
Yes, at the stern of the ship, and being as close as say 5 or 10 meters, he would turn away and miss the Mi Amigo like this. He did that 2 or 3 times. We were on the bridge, with the life belts on.
Yes,
we made aid to the Coast Guard that some lunatic was, trying to
ram
us.
us.
Yeah.
Yes.
We were really. I was never
frightening.
afraid on that ship. Not on the sandbank. Not when we were sinking because a valve was, pumping in water. But that time, I think, with this lunatic, this is really dangerous. And then after the 3rd time, he very came close. He threw over the ropes and said, "Ha I was only joking."
Yes, which was not funny.
No, I could have killed him.
Yes,
and not only me, but you were on board that time, weren't you?
Was.
Yeah.
I remember that.
So you remember it quite well.
Yes.
And he came on board, and we got all the supplies, and he apologized for the joke. And
but then afterwards, the next day, we found out about the steering wheel.
No, that's
that situation.
Was that at the same time?
And
that was really bad.
Yes, he had pinched the steering wheel of the Mi Amigo.
As well as the compass.
And the compass, and also a few tapes, because I have a recording, an air check from you, in which you tell the next day that you are missing Mi Amigo's Lieveling, which is actually stolen from the studio. So you had to do it again. But we have some more air checks.
Okay.
Yes.
En wat had je gedacht? Hallo allemaal. Marc Jacobs op Radio Mi Amigo Internationaal. 1, 2, 3. Marc Jacobs, Mi Amigo. Marc Jacobs, Mi Amigo. Marc Jacobs, Mi Amigo. Amigo. La 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 la.
En dit is dan Baken 16, het middagprogramma van Radio Mi Amigo Internationaal met Marc Jacobs.
En u begrijpt wel, luisteraars, dat als we deze tune horen en Marc Jacobs achter de knopje zit, dat ik graag Baken 16 afsta. Marc, succes met Baken 16. En wat mij betreft, ik blijf bij jou ook. Goedemorgen. Dag.
Dag.
Oh, ik ben er straks weer tussen 2 en 3, hè?
Oh, je bent tussen 2 en 3 ook nog op het apparaat?
Ja.
Dat is Herman de Graaf die naast me staat, ongeschoren en wel een tochtdier.
Ik heb de tanden gepoetst.
Helemaal koud. Nou, dag Mireille, dag Fernand, dag Christine, dag Nancy, dag Marjan, dag oude Jacoba en dag iedereen. Die ik toch zeker zo'n 7 maanden heb moeten missen vanaf deze oude trouwe schuit op de Noordzee. Er hebben veel dingen in de kranten gestaan de afgelopen maanden. Dingen die ons allemaal toch een beetje vreemd overkwamen. Ik moet zeggen, diverse artikelen hebben de mensen mij in de schoenen geschoven. Laat ik u verzekeren dat dat niet het geval is geweest. Ik heb mij vroeger voor de volle 100% ingezet voor dit station. En ik zal het ook in de toekomst weer gaan doen. Dus van mijn hand geen rare kritieken op al die toestanden. Het is maar even dat u het weet. We zitten in de studio, we hebben diverse mensen bij ons. Dag Hut.
Die Mark.
Dag, we hebben Luc bij ons. Dag Luc.
Dag Mark.
En een meneer met een blote navel, dat is Kees Borrel. Die jongen heeft een rode baard. Dezelfde kleur van de soep die we vanavond waarschijnlijk krijgen. En Herman natuurlijk.
Hoi, Mark.
Ja, Herman, ik moet jou speciaal bedanken voor het doen van het baken de afgelopen maanden.
Hoe lang was het eigenlijk?
Een dik half jaar is het geweest. Moet ik even daarbij, ik moet een plaat opcuwen namelijk. Want, wat gaan wij doen in Baken 16? Ik heb geen idee, ik ben mijn briefje kwijt. Waar is mijn briefje? Niemand de deur uit. Goed, 1 puinhoop, al puinhoop zal het blijven. We hebben natuurlijk tot 2 uur de agenda. Het beurtgeboren, natuurlijk ook weer de rubriek Wat heb ik op mijn bordje. Weerberichten krijgen we geserveerd door Luc Watermans. Verder de DJ hittips. Gauw houden van de dag vandaag. Edison Lighthouse is dat geloof ik. Verder hebben we wat briefjes. We gaan wat reclame maken voor de correspondentiehoek. Die u binnenkort weer in Op Goedemorgen kunt ontmoeten. En natuurlijk veel muziek.
When I remember you in that time, in the summer of 1978, I always see you with that one on.
Yeah.
Every day.
was a rope from Bart van Leeuwen, and when he didn't come back to the ship, he asked me, would you bring some personal things?
It gave you something glossy.
I know. But the funny thing was, I forgot that.
Yes.
And when in Spain, you say, where's my rope? My what do you call a thing like that in English?
I don't know. What's
you know
a thing like that? What's
what
the name?
Ein bademantel.
Bademantel.
Yeah, ein bademantel. Okay, thank you for translating it into English. No. What I'm wearing, but bathrobe. That's what we were looking for, right? Yeah, I know. Very you. No, we say keep it and enjoy it.
Yeah. Well, during that period in October, things started to go wrong with the supply of fuel, but also with the generators. Do you remember that things went wrong?
Ich bin nicht zu Hause. Sorry.
So you came on in July, and somewhere around October, things started to go wrong with the generator. Can you remember that?
I remember that. We had a fuel situation.
Yes.
Many times. Where we had to go off the air at 7. Where we had a small Henschel generator.
Yes, 2 of them.
Supplying us with just the necessary power to turn on the lights. Apart from the first time we used it, Peter started this generator, and all the lights, started flickering.
Yeah.
And he was searching, measuring what was wrong with the generator.
Mm-hmm.
I can't find anything wrong with it. No. Still, there's not enough power. Now, what happened in my cabin? I had a stove that worked on electricity, and it took 2,000 watts. About all that generator could generate, right?
Uh-huh.
And I had left it on.
Oh, really?
And that was it. Well, that was, I think, the only time that Peter was really mad with me, because he spent hours trying to find what caused the problem.
Yes.
And it was me.
You.
Yeah.
But afterwards, one of the main problems was that filters from the engine they were polluted, and they had no spare filters anymore. So we had to switch off one of the MANs.
The big ones.
The big ones.
Yeah.
And later on, the other engine almost blew. It produced grey and dark smoke. So around the 20th of October, we had to close down. You remember that? You did the last words.
Yeah, I think it was you that ran into the studio and said, we have major problems and we'll be off the air within a second.
Yes.
And I think it was right before that Marc and Sistine was about to start.
Yes.
I remember you coming into that studio, redhead, in panic.
Yes, and you sat there to prepare Marc and Sistine.
Yeah, right.
Opened the microphone and said, well, this is Marc Jacobs for Radio Mi Amigo. We are going off the air.
Yeah.
And that was it. We have the last, not the last announcement, but we have...
Dit is Mi Amigo Internationaal.
1979, 319, Radio Caroline.
Yeah. You returned to 1979 on Radio Caroline. How come?
Yeah. Well, there was a guy called Ronan. No, it's
the story of your life.
The story repeated itself.
Yes.
I know. I missed the old lady. I was doing all sorts of things in Holland.
You were involved with Radio Noord already then, or not yet? The end of 1978.
No. I went back to work as a disc jockey in several clubs.
All right.
But I missed working for the station.
Yes.
I missed the contact with the listeners. I missed my friends on the radio ship because, well, as you know, it was like a family. And then something or someone tells you a few times, "Hello, Mark, baby, the lady misses you."
Yes.
You get soft inside.
Yeah.
And you're right. And they say, in the meantime, it's Radio Caroline. It's not Mi Amigo. Mi Amigo.
They split.
They split up, and I didn't go with Mi Amigo.
I was the only one who did.
Yeah, right. For one reason or another, I said no to the offer to go to Mi Amigo, the new Mi Amigo.
Yes.
And I was really pulled back to Radio Caroline. I didn't regret it.
You had a nice time. What about the atmosphere? Was it completely different from what you were familiar to on the old Mi Amigo with Radio Mi Amigo? What was it about the same?
I think the atmosphere on the ship was
more businesslike, I think.
I can't say that. There were more live programs. I think we did live all day long.
I think so.
And that was a difference. There were quite a few disc jockeys, more Dutch disc jockeys.
Yes.
And there's always one Dutch disc jockey that doesn't adjust to the atmosphere. That has an ego. I remember quite well. Once an evening we had at the tender, with letters. You have to make a few commercials. They have to be on the air tomorrow.
Yes.
So there had to be a lot of production work. And I went to the studio. One of the disc jockeys was sitting there making his name jingles, and I said, when can I use the studio? I have to make some commercials. They have to be on the air starting 6 o'clock tomorrow morning. And no, I'm quite busy. I think I'll be busy until 1 o'clock. I said, well, listen, that means I will not get any sleep because then I can start doing the commercials at 1. What makes more money, your name jingles or commercials? I don't care. All right. Would you please leave the studio now? And for some reason I said it in a manner that he took his tapes and went out.
Okay.
After that, I never had any quarrel with him again.
Okay.
And if I see the guy, we're really friends. But apart from that, no, I don't think the atmosphere changed. It was still one family, and we all had the same goal, keeping 2 radio stations on the air.
Did you return several times to the MV Mi Amigo during that period, or was it one long period on the ship during the summer of '79? Do you remember that?
No.
No, never mind. But at the end...
Hans will know. I can't remember. In my memory... Yeah.
But this is about Radio Caroline in the summer of...
I think in my memory, I stayed on board till October something.
October.
79.
And afterwards, it said you made some studio programs in Groningen. Is that right for Radio Caroline, or you don't remember?
I did have a studio.
Yes.
I can remember that Rob Ronder, who worked for the station
a
few months. Don't know about him, but Rob Ronder, he lived in the south of the country. He came over to the north, stayed for a week, and recorded programs. If I recorded programs for Mi Amigo or Caroline,
Radio Caroline,
I don't think so. I can't remember. But
it's not really you, is it? Live radio.
It's not my thing. No, it's not my thing. We did make some tender tapes that, whenever a tender would come alongside, we would jump over and the program would sort of continue as if nothing happened. So we record a tape at night, claiming it to be bright daylight, telling all kinds of stories what was going on the ship. We all made them up. So no one would hear that was not live in order not to endanger one of our tenders. But I can't remember making any programs on land for Caroline.
When you went to the ship, what did you actually bring? What did you take with you? How did you prepare to go to the ship for another 2 to 3 months? Did you do special things or just grab your coats?
I don't know. Last year I threw away the suitcase.
Really?
Which was actually a really big bag, about this size. It was huge. You would stuff it with clothes.
Clothes.
I always took my transistor radio with me.
Yes.
Which I still have. It still works today. I use it as a monitor in the studio. I never listen to the mixer. Always to the medium wave sound from that radio, a Schaub Lorentz. So I could actually monitor what the listener was hearing on shore.
Yeah.
Clothes. Stuff like that. No records,
cigarettes,
ciggies. No, the
sweets, nothing like that.
No licorice.
I used to do that. You remember that?
You always came on board packed. You had this one. Wasn't that a wooden, a giant wooden suitcase with all kinds of records we wouldn't have
But I shared it with
of course, but that was I remember you coming on board with a load of, especially oldies, which we didn't have. Yeah. And you saying, apart from a new jingle package, we can now make golden oldie shows because they all stayed on board and they're all down on the bottom now. But you brought a lot of stuff. I remember that quite well.
At some time at October, November, autumn 1979, things went wrong with the disc jockeys and the organization, the Caroline organization. Do you remember something about that? What was it? The money question?
I think so. Yeah, matter? Money and mismanagement. We had Danny Velsteken. I mean, may he rest in peace. Yes. You don't want to say anything bad about someone who's gone over, but he was a rip-off. He would rip off everyone he knew, maybe even his mother. Apart from that, he was a nice guy.
That's the strange thing.
He was a good laugh. He was a good host when you were in Belgium. I would join him to go to the advertisers to renew contracts or to collect money or whatever. The story you told about the new radio ship with the picture he had, I was involved in that. I went with him to the advertisers. And I was there when they opened safes, and pulled out really, really loads of money. I think only part of that went to Caroline. Yeah. And the major part went to, you name
everything, it. Yes.
And when he was in charge of the tendering, in charge of collecting money from the advertisers, things got worse and worse.
At the end, you decided to quit.
I remember when on land, we did some drive-in shows for Danny, the Caroline drive-in show. And we were paid for months and months. And Rob Hudson and Paul de Witt and myself, we did a drive-in show somewhere in Belgium. And Danny came in a brand new Porsche car. With 148 kilometers on the display. And after the drive-in show, he promised us to pay our wages for the past 3 or 4 months.
Which, of course, he didn't.
He didn't. So then Paul said, hey, Danny, what a lovely car. You mind if we take a spin? And
drove off.
Right. He and Rob drove off in his Porsche. And from the next village, they phoned back to the discotheque where we were, and told them, if you want your Porsche back, you pay our money.
Yes.
The same thing repeated months after. I think it was December 79, where Danny still had to pay me. He phoned. He said, "Would you mind going back to the ship just before Christmas? And I promise to pay you then, before you go to the ship." Well, it's very nice of you, Danny. So I went to Belgium. He paid me, and I said, well, thank you very much, but with you on the steering wheel, I don't think I want to go back to the station.
Yes.
Which, it broke my heart. But things on the ship were so bad. No supplies. There was no maintenance. The lady got looking worse and worse about every day, and nothing was repaired. So I thought, this is it. And this is not going to last long. And, 3 months later, you know the story.
Did it hurt? Did you feel at that time that was going to be the end of your offshore radio period? Do you recall?
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah. Caroline was the only one left.
Yes. So that was it, basically.
Well, yeah. Like I said, with pain in my heart,
yes,
I decided not to go back. Yes. But I wasn't tired of being alive and going to that ship with only 4 people, 4 DJs, no crew, no one who knew anything about sea or sea rights or whatever. I thought it to be too dangerous.
What did it do to you when the boat actually sank?
Oh, that was horrible. Soft spot.
Yes.
You teach there again. I heard the news. Maybe you called me or I heard it on the news. I can't remember. But it's really funny how I reacted. I tried to analyze it afterwards, but it felt like being a relative being dead. Yeah. I cried. I felt sad. For days, I was in a very bad humor. Really strange. But afterwards, you told me, and the English guys that worked on the ship, like Stuart Russell, like Richard Thompson, they all felt the same.
Yes.
There was something special about that ship, and you sort of bonded with it. And whatever happened on the ship, you knew you were never in danger, which is very strange. And then once you sank, and the way Richard Thompson, I think it was 2 or 3 years ago on the radio day in Amsterdam, Richard Thompson talked about the Mi Amigo sinking. And the way he did that, God, almost made me cry again.
Yes. Well, the old lady, you never returned later on to the Ross Revenge. You had your job already on Radio North then, or did you decide not to go back into offshore radio?
No, I started working with the regional station up north in Holland, Radio North, in January 80. So actually a few weeks after I left Caroline. And I think the new Caroline started in 84. Yeah, by that time.
85 there was the
83.
84 there was the Dutch service Radio Monique.
All right,
yes,
right.
Yes,
no, it's been a lovely adventure.
Yes,
and I thought that's it. And I had a nice job.
How do you look back on this period? If you
like I think many of our old guys, old disc jockeys on board, I think the same goes for you, for Graham, for Dick. It was one of the most colourful periods of my life.
Yes.
Great, fantastic.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Mark.
Thank you.
I enjoyed it.
So did I. Maatje.